From stormtrooper smacking his head in Star Wars, to a real knife that almost killed Aragorn on camera, these are few of the biggest mistakes that changed movies forever. Number 1. When illness became iconic comedy. Raiders of the Lost Ark planned an extended combat sequence showcasing Indiana Jones battling a swordsman through Cairo's crowded marketplace. The choreography took days to prepare, with intricate whipwork and hand-to-hand fighting mapped out in detail. Then, Harrison Ford contracted severe dysentery during location shooting in Tunisia, leaving him completely drained and unable to perform physically demanding stunts. Ford pitched a simpler alternative to Spielberg between trips to the bathroom. What if Indy just pulled out his gun and ended the fight immediately? Spielberg grasped the brilliance instantly. Instead of showcasing action prowess, they'd reveal character personality. Why engage in theatrical combat when you're carrying a loaded weapon and feeling miserable? That sickness-inspired shortcut defined Indiana Jones better than any scripted moment could. It established him as practical rather than showy, someone who solves problems efficiently instead of dramatically. Number 2. The Predator that never showed up. Steven Spielberg built a 25-foot mechanical beast for Jaws, confident it would terrify audiences with constant screen presence. Then, ocean water annihilated Bruce the Shark. Corroded pneumatics, waterlogged circuits, and expanding rubber transformed their expensive prop into a barely functional disaster. Production ground to a halt. Costs skyrocketed. Boats started sinking. The entire shoot teetered on collapse. Faced with a broken monster, Spielberg completely reimagined his approach. He eliminated most direct shark footage, substituting yellow barrels marking its position, sinister point-of-view shots from below, and John Williams's menacing score. Instead of showing the creature repeatedly like planned, he let viewers' imaginations conjure something more frightening than any rubber shark could deliver. Number 3. The deflection that defied death. During the Fellowship of the Ring's action sequences, a stunt performer accidentally released an actual combat knife that flew directly toward Viggo Mortensen's face at lethal speed. This wasn't a safety prop that slipped loose. This was genuine steel hurling through space toward an actor's head with enough force to cause catastrophic injury. Mortensen's response was instantaneous. Without thinking, he swung his sword and knocked the blade aside mid-flight in one smooth motion that looked completely intentional, except nothing about it was intentional. That deflection was pure reflex, activating at precisely the right fraction of a second. The entire stunt team stood frozen in shock, but when they reviewed the footage, the defensive move appeared so seamless, they kept the take. Number 4. Real pain in a fake world. Django Unchained's dining room confrontation built toward explosive tension when Leonardo DiCaprio slammed his hand onto the table, shattering crystal stemware and slicing deep into his palm. The blood pooling across white linen wasn't makeup effects. The wound wasn't planned. DiCaprio had genuinely injured himself mid-performance, and instead of breaking character, he incorporated the pain into Calvin Candy's unhinged monologue. Blood dripped from his hand as he delivered remaining dialogue without hesitation. When Quentin Tarantino finally stopped cameras, the cast applauded DiCaprio's commitment to staying in character through actual injury. Tarantino immediately recognized they'd captured something impossible to replicate and preserved that take, requiring subsequent shots to include DiCaprio's bandaged hand for continuity. Popular mythology claims DiCaprio smeared his real blood on Kerry Washington during the scene, though that specific moment used stage blood filmed separately. Regardless, the legitimate injury injected unpredictable volatility into Candy's breakdown. The scene already crackled with menace, but authentic blood added chaotic intensity no special effects department could manufacture. Number 5. The Imperial Soldier's historic headache. Star Wars: A New Hope featured an Imperial stormtrooper who marched directly into a blast door opening, smacking his helmet loud enough to echo through the Death Star corridor. This wasn't choreographed action. This was one unfortunate soldier having the worst day imaginable at his job, and George Lucas included it in the final edit because that take still still looked better than alternatives. The concussed soldier's identity spawned its own controversy years later. Laurie Good claimed ownership, citing terrible food poisoning affecting his coordination. Michael Leader also insisted the famous collision was his contribution. Someone suggested polygraph testing, which implicated Martin Reed instead. The debate created a bizarre three-way argument over who earned bragging rights for cinema's most recognized head injury. Lucas fully embraced the chaos. In Attack of the Clones, he deliberately showed Jango Fett bumping his helmet on the Slave the Fur's doorway as direct homage, transforming an embarrassing mistake into canonical Star Wars continuity. Fans immediately adopted it as beloved trivia, inventing theories about clone trooper helmet design flaws. That single unplanned collision became franchise folklore, proving the best Easter eggs sometimes hide themselves. Number 6. The snap that sold a fairy tale. Pretty Woman's most memorable moment emerged from director Gary Marshall pranking Julia Roberts during a tedious filming session. The script called for Richard Gere to gracefully present an expensive necklace, but Marshall wanted to inject energy into his drowsy lead actress. He instructed Gere to snap the jewelry box shut just as Roberts reached for it, hoping the surprise would wake her up. Roberts' response, that delighted laugh and authentic smile, wasn't performance. It was genuine surprise captured on camera. The box was padded for safety, but that spontaneous reaction of real joy conveyed something the planned version couldn't achieve. Marshall instantly recognized they'd stumbled onto something special and discarded the original scripted take entirely. That quick snap became Pretty Woman's defining image, featured in every trailer, poster, and promotional campaign for decades. What started as a director trying to energize his star through practical jokes transformed into the film's signature moment. Number 7. The feline nobody requested. Francis Ford Coppola discovered a stray cat wandering Paramount studio grounds while preparing The Godfather's opening sequence. Without explanation or planning, he scooped up the animal and placed it directly into Marlon Brando's hands moments before cameras started recording. Brando, characteristically unfazed, simply integrated the unexpected prop into Vito Corleone's performance as if it belonged there. The combination proved cinematic gold. The Don sits calmly stroking a purring cat while discussing retribution and violence, creating jarring contrast between gentle affection and cold brutality. Brando treated the animal so naturally, viewers assumed it was scripted. The only complication was the cat's loud purring, overwhelming dialogue recording, requiring technicians to re-record portions of Brando's lines during post-production. Coppola preserved the footage because the cat added dimensions the screenplay never imagined. It simultaneously softened and amplified Vito's threatening presence, creating visual contradiction that defined the character. That impulse decision to grab a random stray seconds before filming became The Godfather's most iconic image, demonstrating how the best props sometimes appear by accident, minutes before rolling cameras. Number 8. The flood that exceeded all plans. Stanley Kubrick obsessively planned The Shining's elevator sequence for weeks. He constructed specialized sets, positioned multiple cameras strategically, and calculated precisely how blood would cascade through opening doors. Then, filming began, and the blood erupted earlier and more chaotically than any meticulous planning anticipated. The famously perfectionist director, notorious for demanding countless takes until every detail matched his exact vision, couldn't watch the chaos. He abandoned the set entirely, instructing his crew to manage the disaster. The take wasn't controlled, it wasn't clean, it was a nightmarish torrent that overwhelmed everything, and that uncontrolled quality made it perfect.